Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read Tifos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Inbetweeners, written by 6E, 6F, 6E, 2D, 62, 69, 6E, 61, 7279. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. "Afternoon, Mr. Patel," said Dave, smiling at the old shopkeeper. "How much are you charging for pick and mix these days?" "1.50, same as ever," said Mr. Patel. Dave took 2 paper bags and filled them with rhubarb and custard, his favorite. He put a crown on the counter. "My hands are bigger these days. Keep the change. Me and Jim, we used to pinch these when we thought you weren't looking," he said, ashamed. "I know," said Mr. Patel. "Your mum came by once a week and paid for what you took. They're on me." Dave laughed. Somehow he knew Mum would have been one step ahead. "All right, give us a smoke and we'll call it quits." Mr. Patel took a crumpled pack from his pocket and opened it. "Last one, you promised me." Dave grinned slyly and lit the cigarette, inhaling deeply. Mr. Patel did the same. The 2 men smoked in silence for a while. "I don't think I'll see you again, Mr. Patel," said Dave. "At least not for a while. We've sold the house. Off on the shuttle tomorrow." "I heard," said Mr. Patel gently. "The whole family, unless I'm ill-informed." Dave nodded. "Never been tempted, Mr. Patel." "Last I heard, they didn't have cricket in space." Mr. Patel pointed a finger at Dave. "Not proper cricket, anyway, and their new format is never going to catch on." There was no arguing, and Dave knew it. He smiled as he listened to the well-rehearsed tirade. "Goodbye, Mr. Patel. I'll send you a letter from Station 5. Dave held out a hand. "Goodbye, David," Mr. Patel shook it. "Please do, and say hello to Jim for me." "I will," said Dave, picking up the sweets as he turned to leave. The door stuck, as it always did. The bell rang, as it always did. Dave walked slowly down the street he knew so well. Mr. Patel's shop had seemed so far from home when his mom first asked him to fetch milk, maybe 30 years ago. Hungover in his teens, he'd thought the same, only the lure of bacon enough to get him out of bed. But he'd grown up, learned to drive. Towns he barely knew from away games and school team was suddenly 10 minutes away, and now they were off to Station 5, light years from Earth, though they'd be there in days. He waited at a junction as a car went past, looked up at the end terrace. The late summer sun setting, the red brick ablaze. And of course, Ollie is a grass in crude chalk. It had been there so long no one could remember who Ollie was. Now it was designated intangible cultural heritage and UNESCO protected. 100 steps further and he was home. He let himself in and went into the living room. The furniture was gone, of course, and the house felt bigger than it had since he was a small boy. He stopped at the door to the kitchen, looked at the frame. They were all there, names and dates etched so closely together you'd struggle to make any sense of it, unless you knew what you were looking for. He bent down. There was David, 3rd March 2034. He remembered standing as high as he could. Remembered the sound of the book sliding down the frame to rest on his head, and the guilty duck away, as Mum had drawn a line in pencil. Other names were there, of course, but his was the first. "I'm amazed you made it to 5 feet, let alone 6, said Jim from the kitchen. He was holding a mug of tea. There was a thermos on the side. "Fancy a brew? It'll not taste the same up there," he said. "Yeah, all right," said Dave, producing a bag of rhubarb and custards. "For the trip." Jim smiled. "Mum's out back," he said, gesturing with the mug. "Think we all wanted to say goodbye to the place." "Gonna miss it right enough." Dave poured some tea, added milk, and followed Jim into the yard. Mum was looking at the empty pigeon coop. The pigeons had been released at Dad's funeral a fortnight ago, shat on the coffin, and disappeared. "I hope you don't think I'm pushing you," said Mum, "but I want to see space before I, She turned to them, lifting her hand to an empty washing line, also now UNESCO protected. "Oh, Mr. Flowers, we've always had flowers, but I feel like it's time. Like if we stay, we'll become part of this, museum they're making it." Babe and Jim nodded silently. I wish it wasn't this way, said Dave. It's easy for the Spacers. They left everything behind without a second thought. Easy for the Earthers. They never look up. But for us, the Inbetweeners, he trailed off. Imagine never tasting bittersweet, said Jim. It tears at your heart, 'cause you have a place you call home, and dreams you'll never fulfill unless you leave, he finished his tea, pouring the drinks down the drain. Who's for a final pint at the White Rose? End of story. Story number 2, Field Report, Enemy Weapon Efficacy on Human Allies. Written by Miracon. To High Rocks, Military Command Research Division. From Field Commander Hick-Tib, Luran Minor. Subject: Enemy Weapon Efficacy on Human Allies. Says, since the intervention of the humans in the Ascendancy invasion of the Luran system, there has not been time to gain full formal testing of human capabilities in the war-fighting effort. However, we have begun getting extensive field data from the humans staged in the Agro garrison on Luran Minor, opposing the Ascendancy forces there. While the results of plasma-based and kinetic-penetrating weapons are in line with expectations regarding damage inflicted, that the capability of the humans to overcome said damage and continue combat is far above expectations. This report will focus on the Ascendancy's favored weapon systems, the oscillatory inducer and oscillatory inhibitor. As you are no doubt aware, due to the obligate carnivore status of the Ascendancy warrior caste species and the long-held cultural taboos about scavenging, consuming the flesh of creatures that were killed by another creature or other causes, the Ascendancy prefers to avoid use of kinetic penetrators, plasma weapons, biological or chemical agents, and similar weapon systems. However, recognizing the need for range combat ability in a war scenario, the Ascendancy developed a series of weapons designed to debilitate most creatures, allowing Ascendancy troops to close to melee range and begin ceremonial feasting on live captives. The oscillatory inducer works by exciting molecules in the target area, rapidly increasing their rate of motion, resulting in an increasing internal temperature. As one might suspect, the inhibitor works in reverse, rapidly dropping the internal temperature of the target creature. Many species known to the Empire have biological states that allow them to effectively resist the Ascendancy's inducer or its inhibitor. The Arctic amphibious Thredat are easily able to resist the effects of the inhibitor, unless it's a vehicle-mounted weapon at least. However, they are particularly vulnerable to the inducer, collapsing under the heat in seconds when faced with a typical Ascendancy side-on version of the inducer. There are similar results for the desert-evolved creatures, being highly resistant to the inducer, but weak against the inhibitor. To date, all known species have been vulnerable to at least one of the Ascendancy weapon systems. Most, like we High Rocks, have no particular vulnerability or resistance to either one, but find them both devastating under battle conditions, especially in the attrition battles the Ascendancy favors. This was held as a galactic constant, like fundamental coefficient of gravity, until the humans. Humans come from a world of extremes. Some have even called it a Deathworld. However, this evolutionary background has given the humans an impressive resistance to the Ascendancy weapons. The inducer typically heats individuals to an internal temperature of 40 degrees Celsius, though vehicle-mounted weapons can raise it further with prolonged contact. The human homeworld has areas which can routinely experience temperatures of 46 degrees Celsius. Because of this, humans have developed physiological methods to resist heat. Indeed, their own bodies will attempt to fight off the numerous pathogens in their native environments by raising their internal temperature to levels equal to the inducer's capabilities in order to defeat infections. While under inducer attack, human soldiers have been noted to leak liquids from various parts of their outer membrane, called sweat, which helps cool their body. Humans of the 23rd Expeditionary Force endured 24 hours of continuous inducer bombardment during the siege of Garrison 12. The only ill effects suffered were minor loss of accuracy and rare cases of hallucinations, as well as consumption of 4 times the normal amount of dihydrogen monoxide. Conversely, the inhibitor works by slowing the molecules in its path, reducing internal temperatures to 30 degrees Celsius. It also has an unfortunate effect on the structural integrity of certain materials. However, As with the inducer, the human homeworld has prepared humans for combating this weapon as well. Parts of the human homeworld reportedly experience temperatures of minus 17 degrees Celsius or lower on a regular basis, forcing humans to adapt to the chilling temperatures. The first human response to inhibitor attack was to induce rapid movement in their limbs and other parts, a process known as shivering. The human has little to no conscious control over this response. As exposure to the weapon continues, however, humans stop the shivering response and enter a drowsy state. During the assault in Garrison 80, the humans present were able to maintain fire for 5 hours until the support flight took out the inhibitor cannon locked on their position. Some humans, notably ones from the area called Finland, were able to maintain a high rate of accuracy while suffering from the inhibitor. Recommendations: send diplomatic envoy to humans in an effort to gain genetic material for splicing into new Hyrox warriors. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons: Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.